I'm Mayor Mike Walsh, and I'd like to welcome you to the Mayor's Corner. This is a program where we provide viewers with information about city government, pertinent issues, and things that may be of interest within our community. I will be interviewing individuals in an effort to get a first-hand perspective of concepts, ideas, and involvements of a particular subject. The topic this episode is Geographic Information Systems, or GIS. And my guest is Bill Boyle, GIS Coordinator for the City of De Pere. Welcome, Bill. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Mayor Walsh. It's good to be here.
Good. I think this is a very interesting topic. But before we go into it, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I got a degree in Geography and GIS from UW-La Crosse. I've been working in GIS professionally for about 18 years now. After I graduated, I went to the Lac du Flambeau Indian tribe in northern Wisconsin. And I worked there for about 4 years, and I had the opportunity at that time to start a GIS from the ground up. So I had a lot of experience in getting things going, and then when I came here to the city of De Pere, I had the same opportunity to start a GIS. I've been here, just celebrated my 14th anniversary with the city.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I started in the engineering department. And when I started here, my major task was to develop a GIS for utilities. So I did storm, sanitary sewer, and water utilities, and we did a giant survey of all of them, about 25,000 points that we had surveyed for manholes or catch basins and so forth. And we put a huge GIS system together for that purpose. About 8 years ago, I came from engineering to the planning department, and I've been in that role ever since here at City Hall. I've got a GIS professional certification that I've had for a number of years, and currently I'm working on advanced project management training, where I hope to get a project management professional accreditation later on this summer. So I've got quite a bit of experience in GIS and work pretty closely with just about every department here at the city.
Great. For our viewers, will you tell us what GIS is and how it's used by the city?
Yeah. The GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. And really what that is it's, in our case, a series of software and servers that allow us to collect, manipulate, store, and analyze spatial data. So that geographic information that we have allows us to solve a whole bunch of problems, answer a whole bunch of questions, and it provides a one-stop shop for information here at the city. You can think of it as like the power of a map unleashed. So rather than just a line being drawn on a paper map, there's a database behind that line representing whatever it might be, like a pipe, like I had mentioned. And in addition to just a spatial location of that pipe, we have also got information about when it was installed, how big it is, what it's made of, the soils around it, all kinds of things that we can use then to determine what's where, what's good, what's bad, what's failing, that sort of thing, and get the biggest bang for the buck for anything that we do here in the city. So we use it for good decision making. GIS is huge in that, and most of my colleagues here at the city use GIS on a daily basis in order to solve a problem, paint a picture, visualize what's out there. And I guess when you get right down to it, the GIS here is the use of technology to solve a problem, to make or to give an answer quickly and efficiently, so city leaders can really look at what's out there and then use city resources most effectively. We also use it for maintenance of systems, for things like the utilities, like I had mentioned. We try to increase efficiency, for example, like on garbage and recycling vehicles by allowing them to make right-hand turns only and reduce wasted time in the vehicle, reduce wear and tear on the vehicle and fuel consumption and all kinds of things like that. The GIS will allow for people who aren't maybe subject matter experts to hop on the system, find an answer when they're on the phone with a resident, and then give that answer quickly and efficiently. So it touches just about every portion of the city, and it affords me a lot of different avenues that I can pursue for working with different departments on interesting projects.
Sure. I see we've got a computer hooked up here, and I assume you're going to try and show our residents how to access the system?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, in general, from the City of De Pere's webpage, on the upper right-hand side here, there is a Maps tab. And when you click on that, that will bring you to the core of the GIS system here for us externally. We have stagnant maps, just PDF images that you could use or print. And I'll show you one of those. So this is, for example, the official city map. So it's got a street key, so you can find a street if you're new to the area and find out some information about the city. We've got, let's take a look at this, for example, legislators. So again, we're trying to give a one-stop shop for people to really get an answer really easily and really quickly. So if you're looking for who your legislator might be, you can use the color coding here to see who represents you and what their contact information is. So again, the goal is efficiency and trying to make things as easy as possible for the employees and the residents of the city.
So Bill, with that particular one with the representatives, does that give you your state, your local, and your federal representatives also?
Yeah, we've got this broken down. So this one for legislators is more of the state view. And then we've got also one for alderpersons, meet your alderperson, and that one is specific here to the city. So it has you, the mayor, and it has the contact for everyone else who's represented, so they can, again, quickly and easily say, here's my house, I'm in District 3, and my District 3 alderpersons are right here, and just trying to paint that picture and make it easy. So that's more of the one-touch kind of an answer that we provide. But the majority of what I wanted to demonstrate here today is the De Pere Interactive Mapping Engine, or what we call DIME. So this is a web-based GIS system, and you can access it here by clicking on the DIME. And then once it launches, you'll get a base map like this. And the information that's provided here, as you'll see, is pretty remarkable, I think, and it should be really helpful to those people out in the community. It's very easy to navigate around the system. It's like Google Maps. You can hold your mouse button down to pan around. If you've got a wheel on your mouse, you can roll it to zoom in and out. And additionally, you've got on the upper left-hand side over here, you've got a slider bar that you can use to zoom in and out of a particular area on the map. What you see here is the base map view. And on the upper right-hand side of the screen here, there is also a different series of base maps. So if I click this one, I can see the aerial photograph from May of 2014. And again, same principle. We can zoom in and out, and we can determine, spatial relationships about what's next to one another and all that sort of thing. One of the keys that you'll see through the demo here is that there are slider bars. So when I hover my cursor here on the upper right-hand side, there is a slider bar that appears, and when I grab that, I can set my transparency between full base map or full aerial image or anywhere there in between. So if I wanted to see a portion of one and the other, I can do that. Additionally, up here there are more base maps that you can select from a drop-down here. You can go back and look at, say, 1960 aerial imagery and see what the city looked like at that time. And then we've also got something from 1938. So you can really start to look at trends in the city and look at how things have changed over the course of time. So you can see, for example, there that the old bridge and then the new bridge as it was constructed. So that's the basics for navigation around the DIME system and then the base map availability. Additionally, we have the layers that comprise the geographic information system here. So when I click on layers, it will open up this dialog box, and you can, again, set transparencies on any of the layers, or you can choose what you will display. So in this case, I've turned on parcels, and I can turn on, for example, addresses. And then when I zoom in on the map, I can see every address within the city, as well as the parcel lines in the city. And there's a whole wealth of different things that we have mapped here. So for internal use, we've got easements mapped, as you can see here in orange, so we can quickly identify where we've got easements for utilities and other things. As I spoke about a little bit earlier, we've got our utility layers. So you can see here all the different portions that make up our utilities. The green is the sanitary sewer, red is the storm sewer, and then the blue lines are for water distribution. And when you start to interact with the map, it'll tell you everything that we know about the database that comprises this map. So it shows that this is a hydrant, it's a Mueller hydrant, and then we've got a whole wealth of information that, for example, the engineers can use in the background to determine what they need to know about that system, including, again, like I said, the type of pipe. This one's a 12-inch PVC pipe. We've got slopes for pipes. We've got just a whole bunch of things. We've got the ability to click on the pipes in the real software and view a televised image of a camera going down the pipe. So again, we can see deficiencies, we can see which pipe needs to be repaired next, where roots and so forth are infiltrating the pipes to try to head off problems at the pass, keep the resident service available, and use, again, our resources for the best possible outcome.
So Bill, have you ever gone through this and seen where there was a problem?
Yeah. And currently, Public Works does televising, and they're canvassing the whole city. And this has been in production for years and years. But they will pick a specific area or a specific set of pipes to try to examine to make sure that they're, catching the cracks and catching the deficiencies, so they can line the pipe or replace the pipe prior to having problems. So again, then the GIS will take that, and we can display on the map, these are the areas that are of significance that we want to look at. We can see how much total length that we need to replace, and they can use that as part of what they'll do then on their end to remedy the problem. So it's a really quick way for us to look at this stuff, and we can say, okay, give me every 1927 ductile iron pipe that's 8 inches. We want to look at those this year because, say, we had problems with those pipes freezing and cracking. We can show that on the screen. We can determine how much of it that there is, and then, if that's what the decision is, we can go after that to try to repair them. So in future years, we don't have that same problem. So try to get the most of our resource.
There's so much information on this that must have been a real big job just to enter it all in.
It was big. The survey was done by myself, and then over the course of a few summers with some interns. And I think we surveyed around 25,000 points, whether they're, again, manholes or catch basins. We've got every service for water in front of every house. So if it's under snow, we can quickly, find them. Catch basins in the spring when there's flooding. Now, rather than have to search around to find it, to alleviate flooding on a street, they can come to this, and they can, in their vehicles now, pull up this map, and they can say, well, here is exactly where that is. We don't have to wonder where it is. We can get to that catch basin, open it up, water will drain down it, and solve the problem.
Wow, fantastic.
But yeah, we've got, I think, about 1.25 million pieces of information just in the utility portion of it, whether it be the location of a feature or the information that comprises what's behind it. So it's very powerful.
Now, is this done countywide?
It depends. It depends on the municipality. For example, like the parcels that we have here, they're provided to us by the county. But the utility stuff, that was just us, and various municipalities will handle it differently. I think that ours is really probably one of the best ones in the state. And there are a lot of them that are done. A lot of people did them differently, where they didn't survey as accurately as we did. We did survey grade GPS or traditional survey on everything, so we know very accurately what elevation things are at and how the pipes are slanted in the ground, like down to the nuts and bolts of this thing. And other communities didn't do it that way. They did a mapping grade survey of their utilities, which didn't really provide as much for them, so a lot of them had to repeat it if they have done anything at all.
Well, that's phenomenal. If a person who lives in the community wants to know something about a parcel in Howard, can they get on? Does the county have this type of thing, and they're able to get into it?
Actually, we collaborated, the city of De Pere, Brown County, Green Bay, and Ashwaubenon all collaborated on this product. So the dime is the same between those entities. So we shared the cost, and we wanted to have one standard product for our web-facing GIS. So everyone in the county, or the majority of them, could get on this and know how to use it from one to the next. So yeah, those communities use the same system. So yeah, as a backbone, we wanted to work together and keep the cost down.
Sure.
And then additionally, if I jump back to the demo here, we've got a whole bunch of various data that can answer questions internally specifically. So we've got flood mapping, we've got elevation contours, 2-foot contours that will show us, where water is going to go, and all kinds of things that are, again, really related to engineering and public works. For forestry and parks, we've got every tree in the city mapped. So you think of the trees out there and the huge job that it is for maintenance and pruning and the sheer cost of the trees. I mean, if you were to replace them all in the city, it's in the millions of dollars if something were to go wrong. So we have that tracked, so we can, down in the forestry department, can do a great job to keep ahead of things and know what's going on out there in the field.
So with this information, let's just take the trees. Can they tell, like the last time it was pruned, different things about that tree when it was planted?
Yep. We've got all that in there, and again, they'll use the real software, so to speak, not the public-facing one. But when they click on a tree, like this one is a ginkgo, so we can see that tree, what type it is, and we just put something simple in here to display for quick answer purposes. Sure. But they can click on it and they can see when it was last pruned, if there's damage with it, how tall it is, what the diameter of it is. It's very specific, so they know exactly what's out there.
How often do you update these?
It's updated pretty much constantly. What we're doing now is we're trying to let this be manipulated by the project experts, so by the people that are out there in the field. So they, in their vehicle, can update this stuff. If a tree is removed or pruned or whatever, maintenance can be added on an iPad, and that comes right back here, so we can see what was done during a given day. And we can also keep a really accurate list, and I guess what it amounts to is then it doesn't have to come back to me to be entered. It can be entered by the expert in the field, whether that's for trees or for like valve maintenance of the water system or whatever it might be. Street signs is another really good example. We've got street signs mapped, so we could comply with the DOT's reflectivity requirements. And we did that really early. We did it for no extra cost, and I think a lot of municipalities out there contracted to have that service done, but we just added it to our workflow and got it done. So yeah, we've got a great deal of information, and I'll just kind of shoot through a couple of these. We've got zoning out there, so people can quickly find out what their parcel might be zoned or a parcel that they're interested in. Garbage collection, we've got, like I had mentioned here, street signs. I think if I zoom in, you'll see that the map begins to interact with us. So we know exactly what's out there. We know what condition that it's in and whether or not it meets DOT's requirements. So that's all put in. The guys in Public Works do a great job to keep that up. We've got street lights for the same purpose. I know that it was very important that we look at not only whether or not the street lights are functioning, but who owns them to make sure that we're paying the appropriate costs. So we've got every street light in the city mapped. We know what's ours and what isn't. And I guess I'll flip back to this so you can see it better. But yeah, we've got all that done. And if, for example, there's a light out, we've got a code on that light that goes along with public service, and we can say that it's a specific pole, and they know what to bring, or if it's our crew, they know that we need a 150 watt, for example, high pressure sodium bulb, and they can go out there and fix it. And then that is maintained as well, so we track that maintenance.
So does Public Works track this like daily or?
Actually, yeah, and I think it's through the maintenance crew. What had happened most recently was the police department, while they were out on their patrols, they made an accurate list of what lights were out. And if they were ours, then we addressed that concern. And if they were public services, then that message was passed on to ensure that all of them were actually functioning. And that just happened recently.
So I think some of the people out there don't realize that there are different types of light within the community. One is that we own light poles that we own, and light poles that are public service related. Do you have any idea as to how How many in each category? Or is
I could
that-
give you an exact number if I was sitting at my desk with my
okay.
with my real software. But I think the majority of them are not owned by us. I think the minority are the lights mostly that are connected here by the lines. So additionally, if there's a digger's hotline ticket called in for someone that's going to be doing some kind of excavation, we wanted to make sure that our crews can accurately locate these on the ground, so there is no chance of having them get hit.
Sure.
So we have really accurate records here of subsurface electrical wiring. So the ones that have wires connected to them, those are ours, and the ones that don't, for example, those are not. So the vast majority are not owned by us. But for example, like in the industrial parks and business parks, those are our lights, and you can see again that they have both the wiring and all the lighting information that they'll need to do their jobs. We are tracking right now installation of the new water meters that are going in, and again we're trying to do that so the water department and public works, they can focus on an area and try to knock it out and reduce drive time and waste in that regard, so they can really focus on an area, get it done, and then we can go back and we can say, well, why are we missing these, or are we having difficulty getting in contact with the resident or whatever it might be, and then we can determine quickly, like we can knock this area out and have a whole block done. So we're doing that. Here's one of interest perhaps. This is the aldermanic districts within the city. So they're broken down and labeled so you can quickly find out where you live and find out which district you're in. And I think, as the residents go through this, it'll be pretty evident as to what's going on. And again, you can do the slider bar for transparency to view something better or worse as you like it. The next thing that I'll show is the search functionality. So you can search for a parcel, you can search for an address, and when you do that, it will bring you right to what you're interested in. And in this case, I'll put in that parcel number, ED275, or again, you could do it with an address, and it'll return the results. So we're querying right now the parcel numbers, and when I get my return, I can click on it, and in this example, it'll bring us to City Hall. And you could do that with any parcel or any address within the city, and it will interrogate the database and then bring that return back from the parcels.
I hear the term overlays in regard to DIME. Do you think you could explain that a little bit?
Sure. And I guess that is, again, like the meat and potatoes of all this. So you can turn on a different layer and then get a different picture painted. So in this case, I've overlaid the zoning over the top of a base map or over the top of an aerial image, so I can quickly find out, okay, the zoning that I'm looking at here is R2, or residential type zoning, and we can add as much information to that as we want to. So then say, again, we want to look at the utilities and how they play into this whole thing, and we can just start stacking this stuff up. And that's where the power of the map comes in, so we can quickly paint a picture of what's going on a particular area. We add trees, and then we see something, okay, we might have a problem if we're trying to access here for service or whatever. So we can add all this stuff and overlay it one piece over the other to find out what it is that we're looking for or what problem we're trying to solve.
I think that really helps with the decision making when you can put multiple maps, so to speak, on it and know where different things are located.
Right, and anyone in the city can do this. So like I said, you might not be a project matter expert at zoning, for example, but you can quickly find out what a property is zoned by turning that layer on. So by clicking identify here on the top of the screen, I can again jump down into zoning, and then I click on a parcel, and it'll tell me specifically what that parcel is zoned. So again, anyone can get that answer and convey it to a resident, or the residents could get it themselves via the DIME system. And there are a whole bunch of other things that I can identify, whether it be a tree, I can launch an assessor's page right from the map. I can investigate easements and streetlights and flood maps and all kinds of different things. But primarily, it's probably parcels that are of interest. So by clicking on a parcel with the Identify tool, it'll show you who owns that parcel, what its address is, and a bunch of other information about it. And again, for residents trying to get information, they can click on voting information from the drop-down, and they can zoom to their own house or search for their house, and then click on their parcel, and it will show what district and ward that they're in, where they vote. It'll show who their alderpersons are, who their supervisory persons are, and by clicking on that link, again, it will bring up all the contact info for the appropriate person. So we're trying to, like I said, paint the picture in one spot, one-stop shop, and make everything easy for the residents.
So Bill, can DIME be accessed by mobile devices?
At this point, it cannot, but the second version of the software is in development right now, and I'm hoping that by the end of the summer in 2016, it will be accessible by both mobile and tablet devices, which has kind of been holding us back a little bit, that people can't hit this stuff in the field while they're out there, but that will be changing, so we'll be getting to that very soon. I'll go through the last few little pieces here. We'll zoom in. Up here on the top, we've got a measure tool. So if you are interested in, say, I don't know, finding out how big a sidewalk you were going to be putting in on your parcel, or a fence or something like that, we can really quickly get an estimate for a resident that we need about 53 feet of sidewalk in this case. We can also do a measurement freehand like that if we wanted to do it. We can measure an area, so say you were going to be putting in, I don't know, your garden or something like that, or you wanted to bring a sketch in to the building department to show where you were going to put something on a parcel. You can quickly get that information and find out how much area in square footage you've got. If you needed a map coordinate for a report or something that you were writing, you can click on map coordinates and then click on the map, and it'll give you latitude, longitude in decimal degrees, and it'll also give you northing and easting and Brown County coordinates. So that's available. If you were interested in printing your map, you can hit the print button, and whatever you saw on the screen previously will print. So if you had addresses or zoning or whatever it might be up here, that's what will print. You can provide a title for your map. You can use a ratio scale or scale text, for example, an inch to 150 feet, so this is set to scale. And then you can print it. You could save it as a PDF or as an image to send along in an email if that was something that you needed either to discuss something with someone here at the city or use it for a different purpose. That's available to you.
So you are able to print off the maps?
Yep, absolutely.
Can you do that when the overlays are on it?
Yep, no matter how you have it set up, when you see it with whatever it might be here, that's the way that it'll print.
You can tell my tech savviness,
Yes,
right?
yes. And you can also choose the paper size and the layout of that print, so whatever will work best for you. And then additionally, on the upper right-hand side here, there are a few more tools that are hiding. The first one is multi-view. Multi-view will pick a point in the center of your screen, and when you click it, it will tell you that you're going to go to another website. And this one is pretty interesting. For example, like police and fire really like this because they can see the Google Street View image, so they can see what's on the street, and then they can see this Bing oblique image, so as if they were, like, say, in a helicopter, they can fly around a parcel and get an idea of what they're looking at or what they might encounter. So that one's useful for building inspection and, again, the safety services. So that's available to you with just a click. Bookmarks, so if you're going to use this system an awful lot, you can bookmark a location on the map and give it a title, and then when you zoom out, you can go back to that bookmark real quickly and easily. And then there's the draw tool. So if you were going to, like, again, I'll use the analogy of the building inspection department. If you were going to put a fence up, you can make a quick drawing and say, this is the area that I'm thinking of having my fence, and you can add different polygons or lines to it, and you can add text to it and print that off and bring it in, and that will, for example, make it a lot easier to describe what's going on. And then when we put it all together, we can use this system, or anyone, in fact, can use it. And there's a great example of how you can look at trends and how you can look at an overview of what takes place or what has taken place in the city. And I'm assuming that a lot of people will be unaware of what I'm about to show, but it's really interesting. So if we look at a base map here on the east side of De Pere, and we look at it today, as we'd expect it in 2014, nothing very shocking. But if we go back to a base map of 1960, we can see something that's a little bit more interesting. I didn't know this until after being here for quite a few years, but you can see that these are planes right here, and that these are runways. So it's something that you'd never really expect, but there it is, sure enough. So we can do a little analysis, and we can draw a couple of lines over the top of that runway, and then we can go back to our more current image, and see where those runways were. And there was a little terminal there, so it's very interesting now when you look at it that all those homes are built over what used to be a runway back in 1960. And we can that's just one example of how this thing can solve problems, answer questions, explore differences over the course of time. So there's a whole lot of information out there that can be accessed through this system.
Actually, that's down by the end of Ridgeway Boulevard, down in that area, Brule. And one of the things that comes to mind is, remember back when there used to be, they used to send a car around and they would photograph or make movies of the streets and the buildings and such. And I think somehow they would get all four sides of a building. Can that be accessed through here too, or is that something completely different?
Through that multi-view tool, again, we'll try to zoom in here. With that multi-view tool, when you launch that is in part what you get. And it's just a snapshot in time, so we have no control over whether or not that gets done again, but Google did do that, and it allows you to take a virtual trip down the street and shows you what's on the street at that time.
Sure.
Additionally, something that we are looking at here in the GIS department that's basically of no cost to us right now is something called photo survey. And we can do basically the same thing, and the thought of it being we put 2 cameras in a vehicle, one on either side, and say in the case of an emergency, if there was a bad storm or a tornado or anything like that, we could drive the streets and capture what took place. So we could use that to report for FEMA, for example, or we could take this imagery and then combine it with the parcel data and say, okay, these homes are the ones that were affected and to this degree, and these need service quickest, that sort of thing. So that's something that we're looking at possibly doing in the future as well.
Sure.
So I guess that's a pretty much quick overview of GIS and how the public website works here at the City of De Pere.
So Bill, now that we've gone through this, how widely used is the De Pere DIME application?
The external version of DIME gets about 3,300 hits a month. So it's quite widely used, and I think that a lot of those are from either consultants that are working for or around the city that are looking for information. A lot of it is for people, like we had kind of mentioned, to do something for bringing a piece of paper in with their parcel on it for building inspection, or people looking to move to the City of De Pere. They can find information about homes and everything in neighborhoods that are of interest pretty quickly. The internal version of DIME that our colleagues are using is used all the time. It's used hundreds and hundreds of times a day by everyone in just about every department to solve their problems and do that quickly, get a quick answer.
Do other communities have a position like yours?
Some of them do, yeah. It's getting pretty much standard now. A lot of communities have GIS people. Here, I'm the only one at the city at this time, so there's a whole lot for me to do every day to keep the data up to date and then to keep moving forward and all that. But I think that a lot of cities now do have GIS people. Is pretty standard.
Being a computer geek like I am,
right.
And if you believe that, it's really interesting to me to be able to have you go through this and explain what you're doing and the different things. Of course, we utilize it a lot within the city itself, and now at least I'm starting to figure out what it took to get there,
Right.
and what we're doing today. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so interesting to know that you can actually know where different things are and can go onto a screen and figure it out. So, and also I'm glad to see it being used so widely.
Yeah, we're really happy with it, and we knew that it would catch on, and actually it caught on really quickly. And we're glad that people externally are using it, and I'm sure that this program will help drive up that use as well as we make it more widely known.
Bill, we're about out of time, but is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'd like to again mention that we've got all the data there, and that people should just jump on and use it and give it a try and see if it helps them out. And additionally, check back in again, hopefully end of summer, early fall, to look for that mobile application that we'll have out there so people can get answers while they're right out in the field when they need them.
Well, you at the beginning you showed us how to get into it. Just to reiterate that, could
Sure.
you kind of do that again?
Absolutely.
And show us how to get into this.
Sure. From the city's webpage, on the upper right-hand side here is the Maps tab. And by clicking on the Maps tab, it will launch our page. And then by clicking on the giant dime, you can launch the dime application. So just a few clicks to get there, and then the data is at your fingertips.
We thank you for doing this, and we thank you for taking time to provide us with the information about GIS and DIME. And to me, at least, it's certainly a very interesting application, and it's very helpful to the city, and we appreciate the 14 years you've given us also.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this concludes another episode of the Mayor's Corner. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Mayor Mike Walsh.